Know that fume extraction is not the most glamorous part of laser engraving, and it's actually kind of boring, not that exciting to talk about, but it's a really important part of running a professional laser engraving business. Having poor fume extraction or ventilation is not only harmful to you and the people around you, but can also be very harmful to your actual laser engraving machine. So in this video, we're going to cover everything that I can share with you about getting rid of those nasty fumes produced by your laser engraving machine. We're going to cover inline fans, we're going to cover fume extractors, we're going to cover how to set all that up, and we're also going to go over some things that you should never cut or engrave in your laser engraving machine. And in this video, we're actually going to be doing a mini review on an amazing fume extractor from Pure Air Fume Tech, which I've been trying for the past 5 months, and it's actually really, really nice and really, really affordable.
Nice, okay, nice.
If that sounds like something you want to get into, then buckle up, get your pen and paper out, because we're about to get into it on Laser Engraving 911. Let's first talk about why having great fume extraction matters. And I know this is going to seem obvious to a lot of you, but there may be some things here that you might not consider. So when you're laser engraving any kind of material or laser cutting, you're producing smoke, you're producing fumes, you're producing VOCs.
Wait, what?
Volatile organic compounds that you definitely don't want to be breathing in, and you definitely don't want them hanging around in your shop. And that's where direct venting outside or having a really nice fume extractor matters. And it's not just to get rid of those nasty fumes so you don't breathe them in, it's also to protect your machine and the components within your machine. If you've got a weak inline fan, those fumes are building up inside of your machine. They're making your lenses dirty, they're making your mirrors dirty, and they're corroding the inside of your machine because you don't have enough extraction going on. If you have dirty lenses and you have dirty mirrors, the quality of your engraving is going to go.
Well, that's not good.
So you want to make sure that you're exhausting quickly and you have matched the right type of exhaust fan or fume extractor to your system. So let's talk first about direct venting, and let's just put the fume extractor aside for a second. This is the most common way all of you are probably exhausting your laser engraving systems. Your machine either has a built-in fan that automatically kicks on as soon as you start engraving or cutting, and it helps pull those fumes out, and then you run your pipe out the back, out the window, or outside your garage. If your machine doesn't have that, then you need something like an inline fan. I want to share something with you called the 3-second rule. So what you're going to do is you're going to put a piece of wood inside your laser cabinet. I want you to create some shapes to cut out of that piece of wood. Cut those shapes out as far away from the back of the laser where the suction is the strongest towards the front of you or where you open up the door. And what you're going to be looking for is how long does those fumes or smoke linger in the cabinet once your fan is turned on. If it's longer than 3 seconds, you need to get an additional inline booster fan or a stronger inline fan. That smoke and those fumes should not be hanging out for more than 3 seconds. They should not be clouding up in there and slowly being exhausted.
Linda, there's no smoke.
Once you've got that benchmark done and you know that within 3 seconds, those fumes that are being produced furthest away from the back of the laser are getting exhausted quickly, that's the right type of airflow that you need. All right, so let's talk about those booster fans and let's talk about those inline fans. Let's pretend that you have a laser engraving system that has a built-in weak fan, or you have none at all.
You have nothing.
One of the mistakes that I see people make all the time is they think that if they just run a hose out the back of their laser and immediately put that inline fan right behind that, they're gonna get the most suction from that laser. That's totally fine if the window's like 3 or 4 feet away. But what if your window is further away, like 10 feet away? When you're using an inline fan, what you need to do is make sure that you put that fan as close to the final point of exit as possible. Wherever that window is, you want to mount it on the wall, put it on a table, because you want to be pulling the fumes out of your laser, not pushing them down the long run. This is really important because it's going to cause less stress on the fan, and you're going to get way better fume extraction when you're pulling all that air down the long run. Every time you add a bend to that run, you need to up your CFMs of that fan as well. What I recommend, and I'll list links in the description of this video, is that you get yourself at the very minimum a 6-inch inline 450 CFM fan with speed control. Even if your laser has a 4-inch adapter or a 3-inch adapter on the back, do a short run out the back, go from 4 inches to the 6-inch fan adapter. After that, you want to run 6-inch tubing all the way to the exit point. The idea is that you don't want to constrict
You're squeezing me too tight.
that 6-inch and have 4-inch pipe running into it and out of it. You want to try to keep the piping at 6 inches as long as possible. If you're just using a booster fan because your system has built-in fan that's already kicking on when you start laser engraving and you just need a little boost to achieve that 3-second rule, that's why having all these inline fans with speed control is extremely important, because you don't want to overclock the fan that's already running inside of the laser machine. You just want to boost it with the inline fan just enough to help get those fumes out of there. So I think now that we've covered inline fans a little bit, it's time to talk about fume extractors. I use fume extractors exclusively in my shop because I don't have any windows in my shop. Everything I use here is hooked up to a fume extractor. What is a fume extractor? Some of you might already know what that is. You can see some of them on Amazon. A lot of the times laser manufacturers sell these little boxes with the hose that have a few filters in them. But what we're going to be talking about today is real fume extractors, particularly a fume extractor that I've been trying out here for about 5 months by Pure Air Tech. It is the FS800i. What a professional fume extractor is it's got usually about 3 different filters. It starts at the very bottom with a large particulate filter, then it goes into a very large HEPA filter, and then finally, it's got about 60 to 75 pounds of activated charcoal. So what happens when you're laser engraving is all those fumes are going from the bottom all the way through those layers of filters to completely filter out all the VOCs, all the smoke, all the vapors. So what comes out the other side of the fume extractor is clean air that you can actually vent right inside your shop because it's been scrubbed. This is the kind of fume extractor that the SF800i is, and I have been testing it out here in my shop on small lasers, big lasers like my Epilogue, and it has done a fantastic job. It's got active air monitoring, airflow control, so if the filters are getting clogged down, it actually can boost the CFMs to make sure that you're getting constant exhaust airflow. It doesn't like go up and down and up and down. It's got humidity monitoring, a great user interface. Even with all these bells and whistles built in to the machine, what I like about it the most is that it's quiet and it's very, very efficient at what it does. You don't need to crank it up to 100 every time you're using it, which is something I want to bring to your attention. When you're using any kind of fume extractor, you never ever want to be running that thing at full fan exhaust unless you absolutely have to, because what that does, you're actually ruining the lifespan of your filters. You only need to have it set to enough air for that 3-second rule that we talked about, and that's going to make your filters last the longest. When are fume extractors important? Obviously, I told you my scenario where I don't have any windows or places that I can vent outside, so they really help me out here in the shop. Say you live in a neighborhood where when you exhaust out your window or out your garage, all your fumes are going into your neighbor's window, or you live in an apartment complex where you can't vent outside because all your fumes are going into the neighbor's balcony right above or below you. This is where having a good fume extractor really makes a difference. I'll list links in the description of this video where you can learn more about Pure Air and all the different fume extractors that they make. This particular one is my #1 recommendation because it's not too big and it's not too small, and it can handle any of the size lasers that you have. Maybe not up to like a 48-inch by 48-inch laser. You will need something bigger for that. And it's super affordable compared to a lot of the other options. But more important than being affordable, it's actually a real professional fume extractor, which is something I highly recommend you get if you need a fume extractor. All right, so next I want to talk about exhaust system maintenance. So whether your machine has a built-in fan or you're using an inline fan or you get yourself a fume extractor, all of those things need periodical maintenance because you need to keep those fan blades clean and you need to keep your ducts free of dust and particulates. They can definitely build up over time, especially if you're doing a lot of wood, a lot of leather, and that can hurt the life of the fan, that can hurt your laser machine. It could be a fire hazard. And when it comes to fume extractors, one of the things that you need to understand is that if you are going to go the fume extractor route, you need to factor in the cost of getting replacement filters at least once a year. If you're cutting and engraving a lot, you definitely are going to have to account for the fact that you may need a whole filter replacement set twice a year. And that's just part of doing business and part of working with fume extractors. You do have to replace those filters. Make sure you're inspecting the hosing going from your laser into the fan, out the window. Get rid of that dust. You can take it outside and use a leaf blower and blow it all out and then put it back together and your laser will thank you. Before we wrap this up, I think it's important that we talk about some of the big no-nos when it comes to laser engraving and laser cutting materials that you probably shouldn't mess with your laser for some reasons that are probably obvious and some other reasons that may not be so obvious.
Right, obviously.
And the first one on the list is PVC, polyvinyl chloride. Yes, it definitely off-gasses some really nasty stuff that you do not want to breathe in at all. But one of the most important things about PVC that you need to understand is it releases chlorides, and chlorides can actually rust the inside of your laser and its components. It may take a while for you to start seeing rust spots and other corrosion on the inside of your laser. And even if you think that cutting PVC or engraving PVC because you have a fume extractor is okay, it's actually not, because remember, the main danger here is that the off gas and the VOCs and everything that's coming off of that PVC can actually hurt all of the inside components of your laser, no matter how fast it's being evacuated. So next I wanted to talk about vinyl. So vinyl is best left to be cut with the X-Tool M1 or the M2 now. You definitely want to get a plotter or a cutter to be cutting vinyl, because a lot of that heat transfer vinyl, window sticker vinyl, or things that are used in sign shops actually contains PVC too. They do make laser safe vinyls, but you need to make sure you check with the manufacturer. Don't just take any kind of vinyl off the street or buy something off of Amazon, because chances are it's probably got PVC in it, and we definitely don't want to be messing around with that. Next, we're gonna talk about artificial leather, pleather, some kind of fake leather that you might get brought to your shop. Little word of warning, most of that leatherette that is out there, whether it's like on a Bible cover or a luggage tag or something that you would see on Amazon, chances are it contains what? Probably PVC again.
Again?
So you really want to try avoiding laser cutting or laser engraving, anything in that category that you don't know where it came from. What I'm trying to say is that if you want to get into faux leathers, just get the type of leatherette that is sold by Maker Flow, Johnson Plastic Plus, Lone Star, Adhesive, or Hide Bond. Those are all PVC-free leatherettes. You can do whatever you want with them and they're completely laser safe. All right, next I want to talk about ABS. That is also off the list for laser engraving and laser cutting. When ABS is laser cut, it can produce hydrogen cyanide gases, which is some really, really nasty stuff. So you definitely want to stay away from anything with ABS in it. Plus, it tends to melt and just kind of turn into mush instead of engraving really neat like some other engravable plastics. Here's another fun plastic that you should probably stay away from, and that is a plastic called Lexan or polycarbonate plastics. Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Early on in my career, someone brought me something that they said was acrylic, but it was actually Lexan or polycarbonate plastic. While it's not so dangerous, the stuff that it off-gasses, which it is, it's just an absolute nightmare to cut or to engrave. It melts, turns black. Stay away from Lexan or polycarbonate plastics. All right, next I want to talk about carbon fiber and fiberglass in general. Both of those type of materials that have resin impregnated with fiberglass are not ideal for laser cutting or engraving. So you've got microscopic glass particles that are going to be flying all over the place. The epoxy resins that are used to hold those materials together are actually really not good for the inside of your laser. And honestly, it just engraves like crap. And it leaves a bunch of nasty particulates all over the place that you don't want to be messing around with. All right, next I want to talk about leather, but specifically I want to talk about chrome tanned leather or leather that was tanned with chromium. Believe it or not, a lot of leathers, exotic leathers nowadays, they're actually getting away from tanning with chromium, but it's still out there. If you're laser cutting or engraving chromium tan leather, it's really bad for the laser, really, really bad fumes for your lungs. It's got chromium dioxide in it. At the very least, ask the leather manufacturer if it was tanned that way. Personally, I like to stick to veg tan leathers, and I have a really good leather supplier that has all the details about their leather that I will list in a link in the description below. And you can ask them whether each of these types of leathers was chrome tanned or it was tanned in a more safe way that's not going to release those nasty gases. I do want to mention one more that is probably one of the biggest culprits for causing fires and a lot of problems, and that's getting into things like polystyrene foam and other foams that are not designed for laser cutting. One of the great foams that is designed for laser cutting is EVA foam, and actually cuts and engraves really, really well. But there's a lot of other packing foams that you really should avoid, especially polystyrene stuff. Anything that looks like it will catch fire. So to wrap this section all up, look, it's just a general rule of thumb. If you don't know what the material is that a customer brought you or you're unsure, it's not worth ruining your laser, your lungs, or your shop for. All right, so I think that about wraps it up for this video. I really just wanted to kind of set some things straight when it comes to fume extraction in this video. And if you have any questions about fume extraction that I didn't cover, list them in the comments below. I'll try to do my best to get you the answers that you need. Thank you to the sponsors of this video, Pure Air. Their fume extractor is absolutely amazing and probably one of the most affordable professional fume extractors that I've come across in quite a while. I'll list a link in the description of this video if you guys want to check it out, and it might just suit your needs. So once again, I want to thank you all for coming over to Laser Engraving 911. I couldn't do this without you. And until next time, we'll see you around on Laser Engraving 911.